Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Kahena vacha chittena pamadhena maya katang acchayam kamami bhante bhuri panye tathagate. Kahena vacha chittena pamadena maya katang acchayam kamami dhamma sandittika akalika. Kahena vacha chittena pamadena maya katang acchayam kamami sangha supatipanne anuttara. Let us sit for meditation, coming into a comfortable position to start our practice. Being aware of the body, seated here, adjusting the posture if necessary, not seeking perfection, but being comfortable for the rest of the time of practice, guiding your attention to the present, gently putting aside all else, being aware of the sounds around you. As you let go of these sounds, coming more into the present. Gently, gently, putting aside the past and the future, putting aside views, attachment, conceit, desire, and simply just being here. Relaxing the body, the muscles all across the body. As you guide your attention towards the breath, observing the present involuntary breath. With every passing moment, may the breath, the body, the mind come into a state of profound presence. As you let go of all external objects, except the breath, the air element, felt at the tip of the nostril or the abdomen. Centering your attention to a singular point. If you are unable to observe the breath, feel free to take some deep breaths in and out, making the point of contact more evident and clear. Every time the mind wanders, gently guiding one's attention back to the breath. Gently observe, observe, observe. The rising and ceasing of the breath, accepting this impermanent, have no aspiration for the breath, for what one would observe with the breath. Taking every moment as it comes, and being alert to not do to create more sankharas, but to let go, to ease the amount of sankharas that work within the mind gently, moment to moment, moment to moment. The grossness of the breath as we let go and practice through the spirit of renunciation, this very moment becoming lighter and lighter. the heart, calming with the calming of the senses, adverting one's mind towards the breath felt at the body door, Kaya Pasada, noticing an out breath as and when it arises and ceases without any expectation or view. No, no, no. Observe as the gross breath becomes more visible as the long or short breath through the calming of the senses, observing without attachment, with non self, inspiring this practice, a loving nature to arise and cease, gently, gently, moment to moment. Observe being in the present, letting go of tanha, ditthi, mana, greed, views, and conceit. We get rid of the reasons, the causes of proliferation. When there is no expectation, when there is no volition to cling but to simply observe nature of the air element. Tanha diminishes when there is no view regarding the breath, the thought that we know where this meditation will progress to. Letting go of all that one has learned, remembered from books, and putting it all into the present moment practice through simple sati. With the guidance, spiriting the practice in this moment. We observe without views. Knowing there is no self. This is mind and body, nature, the breaths, an involuntary action. Observe the non-self attribute, element. Within the breath, moment to moment. Without any need or want. Mana will diminish. Observing the breath, through the three-rooted consciousnesses, the kusala chitta, holding the essence of renunciation, alopa, non-hate, adosa, non-delusion, wisdom. Observe with balance. Observe. Observe. Be alert, be alert, observing, letting go. Gently, observing the rising and falling breath. Upada Titi Bang. Upada Titi Bang. Gently, each moment present, present. A subtle breath, rising, ceasing, moment to moment, lasting only for one mind moment, one chitta gently, gently, observing the nature of impermanence, the nature of dukkha caused by change, nature of non-self. the mind and body arising and ceasing, moment to moment, as if a mechanical machine. For one mind moment, each mind lasts, constant change, shifting with different sankhara being taken falsely as I, when there is no tanha, ditti, mana, there is no energy supporting the rising of sankhara, deflecting the mind from samadhi. With every passing moment, may the hindrances fade. Through which practice will flourish. Seeing, knowing, the reality of all things without delusion, moha, blinding our vision. Observe, observe, observe this very moment. Experience the peace of non-arising. By letting go of causing the arising of any sankhara, by applying the mind to observe without attachment the breath, the subtle breath, arising, ceasing, arising, ceasing, still the mind, release yourself from doing and just be with sati. more the breath becomes clear. The body is subsiding, the scent of a greater body subsiding as the body of the breath, beginning, middle, and end, rising, ceasing. Natural breath, involuntary breath, letting go of all ties to the world for this moment and apply yourself only to the breath, to observe the rising and ceasing, the breaths growing subtler and subtler. Gently with the arising and ceasing of any object. There is Sanya and Vedana along with Sankhara Khanda and Vijnana Khanda. Chitta Chaitasika. With every breath, there is a Vedana. Advert, guide your attention to observe the Vedana arising within the breath, the subtle breath arising, processing, ceasing. Observing sensation, the body of sensation, moment to moment shifting, changing. Gently, gently, guiding your attention to now recollect the aspects of the practice. Learning from the practice, the balance that one may have been able to maintain, the types of hindrances that may have arisen. Gently, gently, noting the cause and effect nature that may have been apparent, also the reason for any distractions that may have occurred. Swaying of mind, and also the mind going forward in the Vipassana practice. Then acknowledging the peace of the present as the sankhara fade away, all burden, all attachment born, any reason for sankhara, any cause of sankhara, ceasing with one pointedness over the breath. The breath to the sankhara, arising and ceasing, arising, ceasing, gently, gently. Guiding your attention to cultivate loving kindness towards this mind and body, towards the aggregates that form this present. May this mind and body be well and happy. Be well and happy. Be well and happy. May this mind and body have the strength of insight, the strength of samadhi, the strength of wisdom, to see the reality of all things, to realize impermanent suffering, non-self, anicca, dukkha, anatta, bringing about the liberation from suffering, the greatest blessing surpassing all blessing, the quenching of the fire, the ceasing of all impermanent Dhamma, the ceasing of all causes of suffering. May this mind and body have the strength to persevere in this practice. Just as we may wish the best upon ourselves, equally may all beings, all external mind and matter, from animal all the way to the realms of the Deva, without any bias, inspired by insight, the nature of all things, may all beings be well and happy. May all beings be well and happy. Being north, south, east, west, in all directions above and below. May all beings be well and happy. May they find peace, true peace, letting go of all that causes suffering, leading to more suffering in the future. May all beings be well and happy. Be well and happy. Be well and happy. Gently, gently. When you are ready, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Good to see you, Damsiri. Oh, wait. You can unmute yourself.
Okay. Bhante, yeah, I wanted to have, I'm back now, um, fully recovered. And
Fully.
yes, because surgeon phoned me and or sent me a message saying that I am clear of everything. That means no trace of cancer or anything.
Oh,
It's
lovely.
complete. It's all because of your blessing and blessing of all the Kalyana Mitras. It's a real surprise for me because I didn't have any complications.
Oh, that's wonderful, Damsri. I think
Yeah,
all collectively happy to see
yeah,
us.
yeah, that's right.
And
Yes,
I think a lot of us genuinely was hoping and praying and sending all of our best vibrations of loving
that's
kindness
it.
towards your
That's right.
recovery.
Yeah, it's
Wonderful.
all worked very well. Yeah,
Wonderful.
yeah,
Wonderful. See
yeah.
the blessings of the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha go a long way as well. And I'm
That's
sure
right.
all the doctors
That's right. Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
were wonderful as well. Yeah, wonderful, absolutely.
yeah.
Then,
Very happy.
Yeah.
then let us go on to our karmasthana about how this experience and how our home practice might be progressing with each and every one of you. As we always remind, the Sunday sessions are wonderful, but keeping up with home practice is quite essential in order to carry on progressing in the practice, uncovering, working on the mind as we work on everything else to do with the Sammati world. Working on the mind at the same time to really fight off the sankharas and the different other stresses that we face on the daily, and being able to find solace and peace in this present through the guidance, the teachings of the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, and having those aspects and elements close to our heart in the present moment. When we observe the breath, we see that as we let go of our interest and keenness over the outside world, using the elements that may arise within the six sensory bases, the sounds, the smells, the tastes, the different other sensations that are separate from the object of meditation itself, we find that these become or supports for us to go deeper into the present. Sometimes, even when we are in pain, coming into the present, reconnecting with the breath, guiding ourselves away from the prapancha nature, the proliferations, tanha, ditti, mana. And I think in the discussions that we've been having in the Dhammasangani and over the Thursday classes, with the Thursday class being on Chittaviti currently, the processes of mind, we come to relate these Dhammas, these Dhamma teachings of the Abhidhamma a lot in our practice to understand the mind and the present moment, the body better, to fuel and strengthen our practice. When we note the tanha dittimana that may be arising, it is always important to understand, because we have been drawing parallels with tanha dittimana, with kusala and akusala since of recent. And this might be a little bit difficult to 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 put together, because we've always known that Kosala does not have any dirt, any blemish within it. Kusala. And akusala is full of blemish. It is a blemish itself. Here, this is true, and this does not change. In the same way, the kusala is unblemished and the akusala is a blemish. When it comes to learnings of the mind of how conditionality works, hetupala, conditionality, how all of this is a nature of cause and effect, and we see deep aspects of it through our practice, we come to realize that moment to moment, the continuity of mind that occurs taking different objects, sometimes through akusala, we come into more akusala. From starting with, let us say, a small akusala thought, we come into, let us say, more a proliferated akusala thought. Sometimes we come from akusala into kusala. From akusala into kusala. You do akusala karma, you repent afterwards, and because of this akusala karma weighing heavy on your head, you come into kusala. You come into kusala. And in so many different other ways, through akusala, we can come into kusala. Through kusala, you can come into greater kusala, cultivating more kusala. And through kusala, you can also come into akusala. Through kusala, you can also come into akusala, right? Now let us say obsession over perfection, where you want to do the best job possible, but this runs over or spills over to now obsession, sleepless nights, and even in the dreams when you're thinking about it. At this point, now, what might have been a kusala chetana in the beginning has taken you on a line of tanha dittimana again, creating an obsession. Remember that obsession arose through a kusala. However, because the kusala was not guarded, that kusala went on to becoming, like, for example, fruit in a tree. It will be from the smaller, younger stages of the fruit, it will grow and grow, become more and more ripe. And then at one point, all infested with worms, right? Where it is now inedible. So even the kusala, if it is not guarded by the sati sampajanya, guarded by the practice, by the recollection of dhammas, through any practice whatsoever, we find that that kusala can spill on to an akusala, just like an akusala can spill on to becoming a kusala. In the Chittaviti processes, what we see is one mind process is a culmination of 17 different minds, which we also refer to as mind moments. One Chittakana is the time of one mind moment. Within this mind moment, there is a rising, processing, and ceasing, Upada Titibanga. This mind moment arising and ceasing in this moment. And when the mind calms down and you realize, for example, when the sankharas are lesser, the breath becomes far more calmer, as opposed to when I first sat down, where the heart might have been pounding, or mind might have been restless, the body might have in turn been restless, but that has calmed down. This is also a vision of Hetupala. This is also a vision of Hetupala. Just like cause and effect, just like in the preceding sections of our experience, when the consciousness becomes even more detached from view, for example, expecting the breath to thinking the thought, for example, the breath is going to arise again, going to arise again. That is a view there. Huh? You're applying a view. When the view is present, tanha, ditti, mana. Tanha, ditti, mana. Greed, views, conceit. There, when the prapanchas, these are known as the prapanchas, the proliferating dhammas or proliferating factors, when these proliferating factors arise with regard to the past or the future, which it often does, this is how the mind holds on to the deluded sense of self, conceit. Sometimes now a more subtler approach of the prapancha, the proliferations, is where ditti is not there, view is not there. So it seems like a bland state of mind because ditti is not there. However, the mind now clings with the support of mana. Mana is holding on to the object with a sense of self. Holding on to the object with a sense of self. Here, needing a finer form of renunciation where you inquire, you reflect upon the mind, the observation of the breath or any other object, to see if you're being with the breath or holding that perception of the breath. If you're holding on to that perception of the breath, not allowing it to arise and cease, but now not holding on to it with ditti, but holding on to it with the sense of self, like I am experiencing this. I am experiencing this. That needing a finer mesh, isn't it, to filter that out. There you come into a state of mind, a state of peace that is far more enticing. Why? Because it is so much more subtler. When the thoughts, proliferating thoughts don't arise, meaning the views, then the thought holding on to the object with conceit or mana does not arise. Where this reflection of self sabotages the kusala chitta from continuing to persist. There, every experience, remember, even with the breath, every moment of arising, the moment of arising itself is change. The moment of processing or upada titi is also change. It is not stagnant at any moment. It is in constant flux. Hence, for the mind to settle even more deeply, you might want to look at the nature that it is never stagnant, where it is never one thing. Why? Because it is constantly, that is the dukkha lakkhana. The mind that wants to settle, which is there, that sense of greed holding on to the object, and the mind that works and is able to be within a state of renunciation will be our next query. Because now, yes, we've differentiated between tanha, ditti, mana. But then how are we for sure in a situation of kusala with the object of meditation or akusala? This comes down to the nature of kusala and akusala. Whilst the akusala holds, kusala releases. While akusala weighs, kusala is light. While akusala works through the nature of wanting security, kusala itself becomes a light and security on its own. Because within this kusala chitta, you have alobha, adosa, amoha, the three most powerful the most powerful combination of a kusala. In this sort of mind, you could expect to see discernment. But this discernment is not like view and the application of view. This discernment occurs alongside, do not forget, alobha. Amoha arises alongside, supporting alobha, which is letting go. Whilst the akusala challenges our way of thought or kusala, inciting further akusala to arise, the kusala does not work in the same manner. The kusala works on a different value base. Here, the kusala is able to find security within its own light because the discernment is not taken as a fixed central view how akusala does it, because for kusala, holding on to it is not a function, it's alobha. Hence, the kusala inspires insight, seeing insight, the wisdom that brings to light the insight of vipassana jnanas, inspire change, whilst akusala holds on to objects and repeatedly manifests these objects to maintain a specific change. With tanha, ditti, mana. If we approach the meditation thinking that knowing akusala but not knowing the kusala, we know the akusala because we've looked at it so much, but we've not looked at the akusala. In relating to these two natures, differences in mind, this too is hetupala. You may realize when an akusala chitta arises, a heaviness of the body also takes place. A restlessness of the body may also occur. The thumping of the heartbeat, the pressure at which the blood moves across the body. If you're sensitive to all of these motions, at the moment that you see that an akusala chitta has arisen, you will see its cause, its effect, unfolding within the mind and, subsequent mind, and before that, the present body. This is Hetupala. This is Hetupala. Because now this Hetupala, you can see this as knowing and seeing right in front of you in your meditation. And when you see it, subsequently a lobha mula chitta can arise taking this object. What object? The object that you just experienced, the peace, the letting go, the balance that you experienced. When that lobha chitta now takes that vipassana object as object, you see, now in trying to reinforce the vipassana, you may now reinforce the akusala mind, not the kusala. Hence, the object tainted by the lobha chitta, by the ditti, or by the mana, the vipassana does not grow. In noting these two natures, you will see this very easily. The kusala mind, the kusala mind has a sense, a liberative sense. But let us say the liberative sense that arises, the spiritual peace, freedom that arises, you take that as an object. The Vedana of that as an object. Through the Lobha Chitta. Now see, Kusala turning into Akusala. Right? Kusala turning into Akusala, which means the Vipassana will not develop. So even when, let us say, the lightness that you experience in the body, that too we do not take with a Lobha Mula Chitta subsequently. In the present moment, we maintain, we check at different moments. Our teachers always recommend during a meditation session, we usually do it at the end of the session, but through the session, let us say, within the hour, when you are, you check the mind, you reflect on the mind. You recollect the aspects where you are currently through the meditation practice, the session. So not only once in the end, but it may be helpful to you to check it a couple of times, 3, 4 times through the meditation practice to analyze what are the hindrances that are there. Sometimes the mind takes a subtle object, like the Vedana, or let us say the perception of peace, the perception of peace. When the mind takes that object, now you hook on to a Vedana. Because you are now with this Vedana, the Lobha Mula Chitta, it's very subtle, but it's a Lobha Mula Chitta. When and this will often happen. And this is the hindrance of Kama Chanda. This is the hindrance of Kama Chanda. Even when you're seated for meditation, you want to feel pleasant. This is the attachment to Sukha Vedana. Again and again, now see, that realization to you is Vipassana. That realization to you is Vipassana. When, for example, you see Vayadhamma Anupassi, Vayadhamma, what is this Vayadhamma that is spoken of in this sutra? The Vayadhamma is the nature of ceasing, isn't it? The nature of ceasing. The nature of ceasing we experience with the breath, the change that we experience in the breath. This change that we experience in the breath is again a Hetuphala. The mind, the body. The mind, the body. When the mind is at peace, the body is at peace. When you let go of trying to cling on to that peace, the mind goes into deeper peace. When the mind goes into deeper peace, the body goes into a lighter, weightless almost existence. As if you do not cling on to that Vedana, now letting go and bringing being with the object, continuing, the mind will further become subtle. What is this? Hetu phala, hetu phala, hetu phala. There is no me doing it, there is no I doing it, there is no person doing it. But this is the hetu phala, hetu phala, hetu phala. That realization is Vipassana. That realization is an insight that occurs, leading to this nature of being able to do what? To now embrace, if I might say it in this way, embrace the nature of the Kusala mind, the Trihetuka Kusala mind. When you do this, your attraction to your previous, let us say, close friend, the akusala, that bond diminishes. Your view that I cannot do this without attachment diminishes. The aspect of always wanting self to be implied or taking things from the self perspective diminishes. Those causes giving rise or giving strength for the prapanchas to subsequently arise diminishes. That too is Hetupala. That too is Hetupala. When you put it onto Hetupala, let us say if you have experienced these, now that experience itself, Hetupala. Then the ego self is not what is being proliferated there. It is now in the element of the Dhamma. In being able to see, let us say, Kama Chanda, let us say Vyapada, when the meditation, when the posture, when there is a pain that is arising, Vyapada. To know that this Vyapada is arising, sometimes we might be so focused upon doing a great job with the meditation that we forget about, let us say, being gentle on ourselves. So when a pain arises, you quickly switch it or straighten your back with a little subtle, let us say, aversion. Aversion in a very innocent way it might be, but still aversion. This aversion, when it arises again and again and again, remember, aversion arises with a close friend. Who is that friend? Dosa mula chitta. Dosa mula, arises with moha. Moha is avidya. Moha is avidya. Right? Tanha arises with moha. Tanha arises with moha. That moha there is also avidya. What does avidya do? It blinds you from reality. When the mind is in hate, we know. When the mind is experiencing hate, what does the Buddha say? What can you do? There's nothing to do. Hate has already arisen. What you do is the practice is before that hate arises to prevent that hate from arising, prevent that anger from arising, preventing, let us say, the lobha from arising. In that prevention, you realize sometimes when it is tough, sometimes when it is tough, when you are vested, let us say, in hate or in attachment, it is hard. There's that decision. Certain parts of decisions are not clear. They don't appear. That is avidya. It blinds you to only see this object through the lobha. In the kusala, it does not work like that. When discernment is there, amoha, non-delusion, prajna is open. Remember that there prajna arises. If prajna is the one climbing the ladder, alobha is holding that ladder, supporting the prajna. Here, alobha doing so means that it is not constricted to one specific option. There is always openness in the mind at that stage. There is always a possibility when you feel trapped, when you feel trapped, that is most probably when you feel as if you don't have another option. That is most probably a akusala chitta in your mind giving you that notion, that idea that this is, that you have no other option. The kusala on the other side will not give you that thought that there is no other option. The kusala, because of the power of discernment, alobha, and also now if you take adosa, loving kindness, this has a respect for all the options that might be possible. The mind is not constricted. It is like light that travels, unbiased. It's able to see that. Hence, when a meditator might be faced whilst you are, your meditation is good, stable, progressing, and you're with a practice, and you might face an encumbrance, a challenge. At this moment, you might be able to take a step back. At this moment, you might be able to listen without getting attached or feeling like you've been swept away by these instigations of different objects, where you are able to maintain and be within that present state of mind. That too is a hetupala. So if the right fertilizer is put, if the right care is given, if the right chitta is nurtured, if alobha, adosa, amoha, chitta, the three-rooted kusala chitta is nurtured with happiness or with equanimity, remember, then that becomes a hetu phala for the practice to flourish, for peace to flourish, for the present moment to become vividly more clear in this moment, not being phased and not creating conditions for the prapancha to arise and take over, defiling the mind. Defiling the mind. Do we have any questions?
Bhante,
Yes.
can I ask my first question?
Mm-hmm.
The Bhante, when it comes to mana, conceit,
Mm-hmm.
Mana, according to Chittaviti, mana will come when you don't have ditti.
Yes.
So when you call the prapancha tanha ditti mana,
Yeah.
so either tanha and mana or tanha and ditti.
Yes.
Okay, so that's it.
Tanha or mana or tanha or
tanha or ditti. Yeah. The other thing is, second question is, Bhante, when it comes to Gantha, Oga, Yoga, conceit is not considered in this.
Gantha, Oga, Yoga. Now, what are the Ganthas?
Ganthas are Lobha, Dvesha, Ditti.
Lobha, Dvesha,
Dvesha, Ditti.
Ditti. And the Yogas?
Yoga is also same.
And the Asavas are also.
Asava's conceit is not there. I'm not 100% sure.
When this is now, see, yes,
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
you can continue. Yeah.
Okay. So when the asavas, when you take mana, for example,
Yeah.
where is mana? Mana arises within a lower rooted mind,
Yes.
right? And all lower rooted minds, right? If ditti is not there, mana is there.
Okay.
When yogas are in question, there are three chetasikas that arise as yogas or ogas. These are the chetasikas that sweep the mind.
Okay.
Right? Sweep the mind. And within that tanha, that mane is already present. Right?
Right.
So what are the ogas again? Tanha,
Tanha, Dvesha, and Ditti.
Tanha, Dvesha,
Yeah,
and
Lobha, Dvesha, and Ditti.
Lobha,
Again,
Dvesha, and Ditti.
Ditti. Yeah,
And Ditti.
Lobha is Tanha, yes.
Yes. So here, this Lobha here
Yeah, yeah.
is included with Mana there.
Mana, yeah, okay, yeah,
Whilst that Ditti, remember that Ditti will be removed, that Oga will be removed by the Sotapanna path,
yeah,
right? Sotapanna
yeah,
path. And what
yeah,
remains would be that Tanha with the Mana and the
yeah,
Dosha with the Moha.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm?
And the in order to when you get arahatship only, you get rid of mana.
Yes.
Yeah,
Self-view,
okay. Yeah, yeah.
true
Okay.
self-view, which
Yeah,
is
yeah,
which is the last stage where that first
yeah,
Oga is taken away entirely.
yeah.
Huh?
That's right. Okay,
At this
okay.
at this moment, nurturing the kusala rather than
Yeah,
fearing the akusala, nurturing the kusala, energy spent on nurturing the kusala, the
yeah.
metta, the mudita, the karuna, the upekha
Hmm.
into the object, then becomes a hetupala for the cultivation of further. Because
Yeah,
it is in taking the object specifically with the three roots, alobha, dosa, moha,
yeah. Okay.
non-greed, non-hatred, non-delusion.
Yeah,
The non-delusion, the prajna, the wisdom, is what becomes the dhamma, the
mm,
light of dhamma, the light of vipassana, the prajna aloka.
yeah.
Hmm? Do we have any other questions
Thank you, Bante. Yeah.
do we have any other questions that anyone would like to ask? Oh, Sudanta.
Sorry, Bante,
Ah, dear.
we are having problems with our thing, so I'm having this very intermittently, Bante. I know
That's
you recorded it, so if you can please have the recording of this Sunday and next Sunday to see it clearly, but
yeah.
intermittently whenever listening. Now, Prapanta Tanha Dittimana, those days we know Tanha is like Loba, Ditti we were opinion. And now Mana we were saying it's about the self comparing something better or equal or lesser. Is that right, Bante? So that still remains that you have a sense of a self that is you're comparing with something else. So that is why Bante that and Ditti and Mana don't go together. So the Tanha will go the with uh, with uh, with Moha, and Lobo also will go with Moha, but Ditti and Mana don't go together. So yeah, why we say Sakkaya Ditti is the first stage when we recognize that the opposite of Samma Ditti, right? The view of a self. Then Avijja is where completely the Arahat, I was saying that when we come to the mana, that mana also is a part of that whole process of, of self-view that we judge and things.
Yes.
Is that
So when it comes to mana,
yes.
mana is not a view.
Yes.
Mana
Okay.
is a state of holding. Mana is a state of thinking, as you said so rightly, Dil, that you're higher, equal, or lower, right?
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
for example, let us say a meditator is observing the breath, right? Or let us say a sensation. Let us say a sensation, a Vedana.
Yes.
Whilst you're doing Vedananupassana, when you're observing the Vedana, let us say the thought that arises, right? The thought that arises to say, oh, I can go deeper than this, right? That
Yes.
thought that arises, I have previously felt far more subtle Vedanas. That thought, maybe in not so much of those words,
Right.
but that subtle thought that arises there, sort of evaluating that consciousness of present experience as higher, equal, or lower,
Yes.
right?
Right.
That essence, you see how subtle it is,
Right.
right? You see how subtle it is right there,
Yeah.
where that chitta rises in that moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one viti, maybe two vitis, and maybe two vitis or three vitis among so many other kusalas. But this viti proliferates, right? It proliferates. And when it does proliferate, it makes a subsequent kusala weaker,
Mm.
right? Subsequent kusala vitis that are to arise with the object, it makes it weaker, compromising that strength of mind. So here this mana, what it would do is it would hold, it would obviously sanya rises with this chitta, and this sanya connects it with mana. Mana is that conceit. So now the object is higher, lower, or greater, equal to what your identification of self is at whatever state.
Right. Now I understand
Right?
that.
Thank you for bringing that up there.
Right. Thank you very much, Bhante.
Right.
But
They are that
and
mana. So mana is not a view. It is a position of holding, connecting. But I connect myself not through view, but the perception of or holding to a certain self. Right? Now, in Sakaya Ditti, that self was established or proliferated through a view. Now, here in Mana, that self is proliferated by conceit through a form of self-holding, right? Which arises always with what? Its good friend and support, Lobha.
yes.
With Lobha. So
Thank you.
these thoughts, everyone, but please do not feel disheartened in any way. Because the more that we know, look at the beauty of the Dhamma, going into such great depth and clarity, with so much clarity, to show us this is the way. And if you think right now, actually, these are the ways that I do cling to anything. It is either with a view or it is with a sort of self-holding, this mana, conceit, which we call. Yes, Damsiri.
Bhante, so when we say that if somebody reaches Sohwang, we consider that Sakkaya Ditthi is, you get rid of Sakkaya Ditthi. That means, but there's a trace of Sakkaya Ditthi still associated with Mana. Is it?
No.
Because
Now,
let's say,
although Sakkaya Ditthi is not there, right? With the Sotapanna, there are other types of ways, mechanisms, isn't it?
Yeah.
And here, Mana, where is the Ditti in Mana?
No, not Ditthi in Mana, but the Mana has like Mana has three sections: Sayyamana, Heenamana, and Adimana. So that itself is some sort of self consciousness, identification. Yes. So that's why
Yes, here this self-identification, Sakkaya Ditti, right? The view of self, this, when the object arises, this object is taken as self, Sakkaya Ditti, right?
Okay.
The object of self. Now that will not occur. Why? Because the Sotapanna attains to this by seeing the difference between mind and matter and causality.
Mm.
This Sotapanna individual has seen the causality, and it is because of that that the Maggaphala has arisen. Because of that insight that occurred, Vipassana Jnana that has been or occurred, that has allowed this person, this stream enterer, to get rid of the causes giving rise to Sakkaya Ditthi or Ditthigata Sampayutta Chittas.
Mm.
Right? Ditthigata Sampayutta Chittas. On the other end, now Lobha will always be supported only by Mana. Only by Mana. Here, the Mana, when the Sanya arises, the Sanya mean this Sanya is held somewhere. Those fine amounts of other dittis, how many types of ditti is there? Do you remember? How many types of ditti are there?
7 types.
Hmm?
Is it 20, Bhante? 20 types of Sakkaya Ditthi?
No, 7.
Is that what you meant?
No.
There are now, there are,
7.
sorry,
In the sutras, there are 20 types of Sakkaya Ditthi. I
the
don't know whether that
20
is
types of Sakkaya Ditthi. Apart from that 20 types of Sakkaya Ditthi, right? How many types of Ditthi are there? Have you come across 60 odd types of Ditthi?
62.
62 odd types of Ditthi?
Yeah, that's in the Brahmajala Sutra.
60 types of Ditthi, right?
Yeah,
62.
62, yeah.
62 types of Ditthi. Now, within these 62 types of Ditthi, right? Within these 62 types of Ditthi, wow, it is only one that is Sakkaya Ditthi.
Yeah.
Right? It is only one that is Sakkaya Ditthi. Now, self, that is why in the higher Vipassana Jnanas, this self, this notion of self can be, although it won't be enforced by a view, it can be enforced in other ways. For example, remember that when the Buddha passed, who cried?
Ananda.
Only Ananda?
All
Surely.
those who are not arahants.
All those who are
Those who are
not arahant.
Yeah.
not arahants. Yes.
All the others, right? Now, Sotapanna Pugghalas included, all those who were not arahats felt moved by the demise of the Buddha. Now, leave aside the Pruthugjanas. There is no question about that. The Sotapanna individual, why does that crying occur? Because of a sense of self. Because of an unpleasant Vedana. Because of an unfamiliar Vedana. A Vedana that is detested. We don't want the Buddha to be dead, to have passed away. But the Arahats, being able to see the fact that after the long ministry of the Buddha and after having released so many beings, the Buddha has now attained fullest enlightenment after parinirvana. Within the Pruthujjana, that avidya, which is present, which is eradicated at the last stage, that avidya is still able to blur reality, things that we've heard, seen, blur. Where now, when they say, for example, any sort of lobha blurs. When it comes to rites and rituals, it blurs. When it comes to views, pernicious views that are held, or beliefs, rootless beliefs, it blurs. How do you hold on to those beliefs? It's not through seeing that you've come across those beliefs. Someone's told you and you believe it. That's where that belief has come. But how is that belief being held to? Is it being held to or practiced through, let us say, a three-rooted consciousness with renunciation, with metta, with renunciation, metta, and wisdom? Or is that belief encroaching on the freedom of the mind? Is it something that is encroaching upon, making you feel trapped? Or is it something that you're holding with view? Oh, mana, then that is an akusala. Because the nature of the kusala chitta and the nature of the akusala chitta, when it takes object, the same object may be, but the object will be vastly different from one another. The mind that goes upon Yonisomanasika with Yonisomanasakara forward flourishes, the other declines. Shiromai, do you want to say something?
No, Bhante. I'm following it. It's quite clear.
Yeah. Do we have any other questions? So there we come to this ability, or how we discern between an object that is held with kusala and an object that is held with akusala, and how that can relate to this present meditation that we are doing, where a yogi, a meditator, is not knowing, for example, let us say the Abhidhamma, studying the Abhidhamma, is not completely ignorant to the idea that akusala can cause kusala, akusala can cause akusala. Kusala can cause akusala, kusala can cause kusala. The path that we take is, or things that we promote, is that understanding where it leads to kusala in the end. Leads to kusala in the end. Because there we can progress. There we can progress. But where, let us say, when we take a kusala, and the kusala does not have wisdom in it. This is a jnana sampayutta, a jnana vipayutta chitta. A consciousness where there is no wisdom in it. But what it does have is renunciation, alobha, and it has adosa, loving kindness. You let go and there is loving kindness there. Now this can be a chitta which arises when we are experiencing or going through a stage of experience where we are not discerning, we are just being. We are just being. On the other side, a jnana vipayutta chitta may not have the force to see reality. Right? To see reality. But that seeing of reality does not come through, let us say, views or aggression to change, but it comes through understanding, discernment. It is when that discernment arises. For that discernment to arise, the mind has to have a goal. The mind, the being, has to have a certain sense of discipline. a certain sense of discipline, some sort of discipline, right? Where the mind, and when you sit down to meditate, enough discipline to want to be with the object. Neither, right? So, sila, samadhi, prajna, that sense of discipline that comes to being with the object, being with the object. After we go beyond that discipline, then the mind can adhere and will adhere. That nurturing has to be given, protecting the kusala and allowing that kusala to be causal to more kusalas by nurturing, practice, applying daily. When it comes to those different experiences, positive or negative, not being swayed by the Vedana of it, because it is only the Vedana that hinders that thought. No, not the Vedana of it, but the nature of it. Seeing beyond that Vedana to seeing the nature of it. Seeing the nature of it. That happens when you're fully in this. When you're fully in this. So when we say, for example, would we be saying it? Are we saying it? And if we are, when we say, Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa, buddhan sarnam gacchami, dhamman sarnam gacchami, sangham sarnam gacchami. To the meditator, that buddhan sarnam gacchami, dhamman sarnam gacchami, sangham sarnam gacchami comes from a different level of devotion, a different level of, it is homage, not for the just one time, for the second and the third, dutiyampi tatiyampi. So in every moment, with every Dhamma, the mind can light up with radiance, with this spirit to illuminate reality as it is. And that reality, when that Dhammic light is what is illuminating the path, avidya, moha stands no chance. But we've got to protect this light. It is like a oil lamp. Dolos Mahapana, maybe that is kept on lit, where you have to keep on checking it through the day and refilling the oil if need be. Keeping this protected, keeping this fire going in the sense of this practice. Through Yoniso Manasikara and our dedication with the time that we put in through our daily practice moment to moment, by instigating the spirit of alobha, dosa, amoha, checking and rechecking, recollecting the aspects of the practice, we form a foundation for us to flourish. So I will leave you with that for today, everyone. I wish you all the very best in your practice, and may all of you be well and happy. And I will see the Abhidhamma students tomorrow for our class tomorrow.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you.